At 3 o'clock station time, Dockering 17 usually belonged to the quiet, a low thrum of recyclers, the occasional tick of cooling metal, and the soft, comforting lie that nothing unexpected ever happened on a graveyard shift. That lie was the reason Jace Rellan worked nights, that no foreman hovering behind his shoulder, no other techs jostling for the same diagnostic bay, no forced laughter in the break nook that tasted like recycled air. Just him, his tools, and the steady logic of machines. That only broke for reasons you could measure. For 9 months since Master Tech Oren Old or Vask died from a slow leak of iron burn, Jace had made solitude into routine. Wake alone, work alone, sleep alone. Predictable meant safe. Safe meant you didn't lose anyone else. Which is why the sight of a 7-foot Drake woman up to her elbows in his parts locker hit him like a decompression punch. He stopped in the doorway, one hand tightening around the handle of a fusion cutteran. Absurd comfort against a species that had once taken worlds by the dozen. Before humans even learned to fold space without turning themselves inside out. She hadn't noticed him. She was methodical, almost reverent, lifting out neatly labeled crates converters, microvolves, field clubs stucking them into a rugged pack built for war more than travel. Jace's first thought was to slam the emergency beacon. His second thought was that station security would take 8 to 12 minutes to arrive, and she could unmake him in 8 to 12 seconds. His third thought, which he later blamed on exhaustion and a chronic lack of companionship, was that she moved like physics had been negotiated specifically for her. Smooth, silent, certain. She turned golden eyes. Vertical pupils that widened just a fraction as they found him. Scales along her jaw caught the cold work lights and shifted from storm blue to inked violet. Wings folded tight against her back, but even restrained they shaped her outline into something that belonged in open sky, not a maintenance bay. She wore patched flight gear functional. Scarred, stitched in a hurry. The kind of repairs you made when you didn't expect to be alive long enough to do it neatly. Neither of them spoke. The only sound was the station breathing through vents. Jace knew he should shout. He should threaten. He should do anything except stand there staring like an idiot with a cutter he'd never managed to use. Instead, what came out was, those jump coils won't mate with Drake tech. One brow ridge rose an elegant, skeptical arc. When she answered, her voice was low and rough around the edges, consonants sharpened as if her mouth had learned a different universe. And how would a small human know what my ship requires? Because those are Terran standard coils. Jace said, surprising himself with the steadiness of his tone. Your people tune their drives on a different oscillation lattice. Plug ours into yours, and you'll either cook your engine or tear a hole in local space. The Drake woman held his gaze like she was weighing a blade in her palm. You are not sounding an alarm. Jace swallowed. Would it matter if I did? You think I would flee before your guards arrive? It wasn't a question. You could be 3 corridors away before they even found the right hatch. Her pupils narrowed a touch. Then explain why you stand there talking. Jace lowered the cutter. It felt ridiculous in his hand anyway. Because you look like you need parts more than you need a fight. Something in her expression shifted, not softness, exactly, but a momentary pause in whatever armor she wore. Inside, she set a coil down with deliberate care. You would allow theft, she said, as if testing the words. I'd rather you steal the right thing. Jace nodded toward a cabinet painted faded blue. Universal interface rings. Third, shelf. They'll actually fit Drake couplers. Just leave me enough to patch the commissioner's shuttle when he limps it in at dawn. For the first time. Confusion cracked her composure. Why help someone taking from you? Jace shrugged. A motion that felt too human and too exposed. Because you're not grabbing everything. Because you look like you wouldn't be here if you had a better option. He hesitated, then added the honest part. And because I've been alone a long time, and this is different. She stared for a long beat, then moved to the cabinet with that impossible grace. She selected 3 rings, only 3, and stowed them carefully at the threshold. She paused. My name is Soren of the High 7th Clutch. Jace blinked. Jace, just Jace. A sound like distant thunder rumbled in her chest. Amusement, maybe. You are strange, just Jace. You're pretty strange for a thief, he managed. This time her mouth curved, showing sharp teeth that were more warning than smile. And then she was gone, silent as a shadow slipping through the station's metal ribs. Jace stood there for a full minute before his brain remembered how to be a brain. He should report it. He should absolutely report it. Instead, he sat at his bench, opened a requisition pad, and began listing what was missing: part numbers, quantities, plausible explanations. He told himself it was practical. He told himself it was safer. He told himself a lot of things. 3 nights later, he walked into Bay 12 and nearly dropped his tool case. Soren was sitting on his workbench as if she owned it. Wings half loosened in a posture that read oddly casual now that he'd seen it once. The sight of her there unarmed, unstealing, made his heart slam like a misfiring pump. How did you get in without tripping the locks? He demanded. Your system has 17 weaknesses. She said calmly. I required 3. Jace exhaled through his nose. That's not comforting. It is instructive. She tilted her head, studying him. You did not report my prior visit. How would you know? Because security did not improve, and because you are not surprised to see me, only alarmed. There's a difference, Jace muttered. Her gaze flicked to his throat, where his pulse betrayed him. Your body disagrees. That's because you're... He gestured helplessly, taking in the wings. The height, the claws that could slice through hull plating if she decided to be dramatic about it. In my bay again. Soren slid off the bench and took 1 step closer than necessary. Jace had to tip his chin up to meet her eyes. The interface rings worked, she said. My ship is functional. Good. I could depart, a beat, return to Drake. Space, something tight and unpleasant tugged in Jace's ribs at the idea. That's good. I have not departed. Jace's mouth went dry. Why? She studied him with an intensity that made it hard not to fidget. You are interesting, just Jace. Since my bonded partner died, nothing has interested me. Then a human corrected my theft and offered help. Jace swallowed. I'm not sure bonded is the same as it was arranged. Her voice flattened slightly, as if the memory was a stone she carried. No courtship, no choosing. Then he died defending a colony from raiders. I believed that portion of life was finished. Her gaze did not waver. Then I met you. Jace's hands felt suddenly too big and too clumsy. You don't even know me. I know you work nights to avoid attachments, she said simply. I know you speak to machines as if they are listening. I know you look at me as if I am not a monster. He tried for humor and got honesty instead. I am definitely afraid of you. No. She lifted a hand slow, careful and pressed the claw-tipped fingers to his chest. Right over his heart. Heat radiated through his coveralls. Fear is different. This is not fear. Jace forgot how to breathe. My clutch name is Soren. She said softly. My partner called me sorry. Sorry, Jace echoed, the syllable strange and right. Her hand fell away, leaving cold air in its absence. I should go. Your solitude. You can stay, Jace blurted. Before he could talk himself out of it. I'm recalibrating the grav rails in C-section. It's boring. An extra set of hands wouldn't hurt. Soren's wings twitched. No raids planned tonight. That's reassuring, Jace said, and realized he was smiling. That became the pattern. Sometimes she helped learning Terran circuitry with unerving speed. Claws surprisingly deft with microplugs. Sometimes she simply perched on a bench, watching him work as if the act of repairing was a language. In return, she taught him the shapes of Drake culture, the way honor was carried, the way loyalty ran upward into the sky, rather than inward into possessions. Humans cling to ownership, she said once, as they rewired a console. Mine, yours, always dividing. Because if you don't draw lines, Jace said, people take whatever they want. Need outranks lines. She replied, glancing sideways at him. Says the human who gave freely. He didn't have a clean answer for that dot. And then, the station noticed Dot whispers in the commerce corridor. Sigh dies in the mess. People who had never learned Jace's name now knew his schedule. Because the Drake exile was often at his side, oddly, he didn't mind. Being seen hurt less than being invisible. One day over lunch in the observation ring, Jace picking at a nutrition brick. Soren devouring 3 full plates as if fuel was a hobby, she said. Conversationally, they think we are mating. Jace choked. What who? The humans, she clarified. They whisper. They wonder how it works. Heat flooded his face. That is not dinner conversation. Why? It is biology. It's more than that for us. Jace stared out at the stars, searching for words. It's intimacy, choice, meaning. Soren grew quiet. My bond was duty, she said, voice low. Companionship existed. The connection you describe never arrived. I thought that was normal. She looked at him. Perhaps it is not. The silence after that wasn't empty. It was shared. 3 months into whatever they were calling this. Bay 12 became a battlefield without a single shot fired. 3 Drake warriors stood among Jace's equipment, tread-scaled, armored. Carrying weapons that turned the air sharp with threat, Soren stood between them and Jace's bench. Wings flared wide in unmistakable warning. The leader spoke in fast Drake tongue. Jace caught fragments from Soren's lesson's 7th clutch: honor, return, contract. Soren answered with a voice Jace had never heard from her, hard as forged alloy. The leader took a step forward. Soren bared her teeth. All of them. Jace did the stupidest thing he'd done in years and walked into the middle of it. What's happening? All for turned to him. The leader switched to accented English, each word shaped with disdain. You are the human consorting with Soren. We're friends, Jace said, because it was the only label he could say without shaking. Friends. The warrior repeated as if tasting rot. She belongs to 7th. Obligations remain. My obligation died with my partner, Soren said, switching to English for Jace. They would transfer it to his bloodkin. You know the law, the leader snapped. I reject it. You cannot reject clutch law. Soren's chin lifted. Then I reject the clutch. The bay went very still. The leader's hand moved toward his weapon. Exile for a soft. Human, yes, Soren said. One word, clean and final. Jace's mind stuttered. Sorry, wait. You have 3 days, the leader said, voice cold. Reconsider. After that, you are ash in our records. They left like a storm receding, no less dangerous for moving away. When the hatch sealed, Jace turned on Soren, panic spilling out in hot bursts. Did you just throw away everything because of me? Not because of you, she said. Because of choice. She stepped closer. All my life, I was assigned bond, purpose, path. Then you offered me help while I took from you. And I realized I could choose to return. You barely know. Me? Jace whispered again. But it sounded weaker now. I know enough, she said. And I'm tired of existing in someone else's design. Jace laughed once sharp, helpless. I'm a mechanic, not a warrior. I don't know how to be what you need. Soren's expression softened into something that made his throat ache. Neither do the first we learn. The 3 days were unreal. Soren moved into his quarters with almost nothing her flight gear. A few small keepsakes, the weight of what she'd surrendered. The cabin felt too small for her wings and too full for Jace's old loneliness. On the morning the deadline ended, a sleek Drake ship floated beyond the viewport, predatory and patient. They're here, Soren said. Jace's stomach twisted. Will you change your mind? She turned. Golden eyes steady. Never. When the final minute passed, the ship vanished into folded space. No farewell. No message. Only absence. Soren's shoulders sagged. A sound slipped out of her half growl, half keen. I am truly alone, she murmured. Jace wrapped his arms around her as far as he could. No, you've got me. And I'm not great at any of this. But I'm here. She pressed her forehead to his. Then teach me how humans live. So they built a new life out of small, awkward lessons. Soren learned small talk by saying the wrong thing with absolute sincerity. She learned humans liked casual touch and began offering it carefully, hand on shoulder, brief hug. The experimental joy of making someone smile. She stole flowers once, proudly, And Jace dragged her back to quarters laughing and terrified of getting arrested. Jace learned that courage didn't always look like fighting. Sometimes it looked like letting someone stay. Sometimes it looked like admitting he wanted them to. Their intimacy, when it came, was careful and slow, more trust than conquest. They learned each other the way you learned any difficult System 1 adjustment at a time, checking for strain, making space for tenderness and mistakes. Jace stopped apologizing for being inexperienced. Soren stopped treating her own desire like a weapon she had to sheath. Months passed. The station stopped whispering and started simply accepting. The Drake exile and the human tech became part of Doctrine 17's odd little identity. A living proof that peace could be personal before it was political. Then, one shift. The alarms changed. Not fire, not breach, invasion. Soren appeared beside Jace as if summoned by the sound, already moving like a soldier. 3 ships. Shadow's 6 raiders. Jace's blood iced. The ones who killed my bonded partner. She finished, jaw tightening. They will take prisoners, strip resources, leave bodies. Evacuation, Jace said. Because it was the same word. I will fight, Soren said. Because she was Soren, and I'm staying. Jace snapped, surprising himself with the fury in his own voice. You don't get to choose danger alone. That's not partnership, for one breath. Her expression was pure fierce pride. Beautiful, stubborn human, they ran to command. The commander was already losing ground to few defenses. Too little time, Soren shouted weaknesses. Jace reconfigured mining emitters into weapons. Hands flying over controls like they were born there. One raider ship faltered, shields coughing under alternating bursts. But the raiders adapted. They hammered the comm ray, tried to blind and silence the station. Hull plating screamed. Atmosphere vented somewhere deep. The commander made a desperate call. Overload generators. Pulse an EMP. Leveled the field. It would fry everything. Theirs and the station's. They'd have minutes before life support failed. Soren grabbed Jace's wrist. I will buy time. He caught her arm. How? She looked at him. And for a moment she was the warrior he'd met in rumors. With my ship. It's barely held together. So am I, she said. And pressed a comm unit into his hand. Guide me. They had practiced in Sims for fun, her teaching him battle sense. Him teaching her Terran tactics. None of it had felt like it could ever be real until she launched into the black. The next minutes blurred into frantic coordinates, shouted. Warnings, a damaged scout vessel dancing through lethal fire. Jace's voice stayed in her ear like a tether. He redirected gravity wells. He timed a mining beam at point range. One raider ship became debris, to remained. Then folded space tore open, and 3 new Drake ships arrived marked not with Shadow's 6th, but with the sky crest of 7th. A familiar voice cut across open comms. Debt is not erased by exile. Those raiders killed our blood. We claim them. 7th ships ripped into the raiders with brutal efficiency. In minutes, the battle ended in wreckage and silence. This debt is paid, the voice said once. We will not meet again. And they were gone. Jace met Soren in the docking cradle. Her ship sparking, leaking coolant, held together by stubbornness and luck. She climbed out with a torn suit and blue blood seeping down one arm. "You're hurt." Jace breathed. "I am alive," she said. "We are alive." Her gaze softened. "That matters." He pulled her close, uncaring who watched, uncaring about the stains. That was insane. "Yes," she agreed, and somehow managed a smile. "You are still learning." Later, as medics sealed her wounds and the station repaired its scars, Jace held her hand and thought of how he'd once believed safety meant being alone. Soren's thumb careful, warm brushed his knuckles. "Regrets? Only one," Jace said. Her eyes sharpened. "What?" "That it took us so long to collide." Soren's laugh rumbled. "Softened by exhaustion, then we will waste no more time." Years later, long enough that the station's new hires only knew the story. As legend, another junior tech walked into Bay 12 at 3 o'clock expecting emptiness, and found two figures tangled comfortably on the old workbench, laughing like the universe wasn't cold. Jace didn't even look up. "Bays closed," Soren added, helpful as ever. "The tools in Bay 10 are inferior, but acceptable." The junior fled. Boots clanging down the corridor, Jace groaned, smiling. "We're going to traumatize the entire night crew." "They will adapt," Soren said, nuzzling his temple. "This place is ours. It is where we began. And you didn't even know what sentimental meant when we met." "I have been thoroughly infected by human emotion," she said, dead serious, then flashed that rare soft smile that belonged only to him. "Also, I have researched human customs regarding family." Jace froze. "Oh no." "Oh yes," she said. "We cannot produce offspring together, but we can choose them." The war left many without anyone. Human and Drake. Jace stared at her. The old fear of attachment, of loss rose up out of habit. Then he remembered the choice she'd made. The choice he'd made in return. The way building a life together had turned loneliness into something survivable. He set his wrench down, reached up, and pulled her close. The kiss was still awkward with the height difference. Her teeth were still a little terrifying. Her scent still carried spice and storm electricity. It was still perfect. "Okay," Jace said against her mouth. "Okay, let's build a family, and probably embarrass them constantly." "That is not how parenting works," Soren said. Very earnestly, Jace snorted. "How would you know? You're still researching. The databases are extensive," she replied, solemn. And Jace laughed until his sides hurt. Outside the bay, the station turned through starlight. Life continuing in its fragile, stubborn way. Inside, a mechanic who once hid in the dark worked beside a Drake exile, who refused to be assigned a fate ever again. They hadn't found the life either of them expected. They'd found one they chose day after day, shift after shift, impossibility after impossibility, until the impossible started to feel like home.